Didn't you think of moving away? Oh, no, then again, San Francisco.
At last!
The cult of
Frisco!
Merry Christmas, everybody out there. I hope everybody's all nice and fed. Probably tired as we are and Christmased out, and I'm fighting a cold and you're fighting allergies. But we are Whovians of the American variety. And this is the Cult of Frisco premiere episode. We are a podcast focusing on the modern Doctor Who with great respect to the old episodes, but with a focus on anything Eccleston and beyond, Ninth Doctor and beyond, and we also have great respect for the English perspective of this English-originated show, and but we have the American perspective, and I roll into that we just watched the Christmas episode,
special, yeah,
and I'm a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, I've been more blown away from other episodes, even just from this season. Like it wasn't a terrible episode. I'm not going to say that at all. But I've been more like wowed after an episode, even just this year. So
yeah, and not to bore you too much with the production aspect, but we have to talk about what goes into the production of a show and what has happened with this show. And I used to talk about it at the comic shop I used to own, and by the way, this is Comic Outpost TV. We are no longer affiliated with Comic Outpost TV. That name will be changing. We are freelancers. I am the former owner of the Comic Outpost, and it's in good hands with Brian Hibbs now, and wish it all the best. With what happened to the show, we got to really go as far as the departure of the Pawns. The departure of the Pawns seemed to be quick. It was weird that it was in the middle of a season. Mm-hmm. And it seems to have cut some of the storylines that you and I used to go speculate on quite a bit short. I mean, and let's talk about this Christmas episode in particular. One of the biggest questions we've had since Matt Smith showed up was the crack in the universe and why did the TARDIS explode? And you and I went back and forth on this, on who could have done it and what could have done it. And it was dealt with in this episode in a sentence.
yeah, basically. I mean, like, yeah, it was. They sort of explained it like, oh, it was the TARDIS, and he's going around and changing things, and the universe can't stabilize because of it. But it didn't really say like the real origin.
It said the Kevorkian people did it, which it just seems that was really kind of half-assed. I'm not going to put this all on Moffat's lap, and when I go, I'm going to go back to the production aspect. It seems like Amy Pond or Karen Gillian left early. And I think they had something planned out that was much bigger. And when she left, it cut all those plans short and they had to rewrite stuff. And I think that's what caused the series split. I think that's what caused the delay in it coming out. Mm-hmm. I think that eventually led to Matt Smith's leaving early because I think they wanted to go one more season. And I think they wanted to go deeper into things like the whole Rory is the master thing, which would have been awesome, which I guess they could still do.
They could.
With all we had a list, and I'll bring it up in a future episode, of all the weirdness that they made a point to show you about Rory, and it just went nowhere. Now, it could be explained away with he died before he was born. But that's, again, all these were getting anticlimactic, resolutions. I can't even talk right now. But, and that's what leaves me, this episode, if you just look at the episode on a whole, it was good.
It was good.
It was a very personal 11th Doctor thing.
And it explained a lot of things.
It did, just quickly. And I think they were a little confused because, but there were moments in this thing that were, I'm not going to use the word powerful. That's just, I won't. They were emotional.
There were memorable Doctor Who kind of moments.
Yes.
So.
I mean, not that my son's going to get teary or anything, but
No.
By the way, if you haven't seen the episode, you shouldn't even be listening to this. So stop right now.
No, we're gonna
spoil them.
Spoilers. It's gonna be more
Crap
spoiled
out of
than
it.
milk that's been left out for 3 days.
That's right. So, seeing Amy at the end was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, but it was kind of like, why? I guess they're just kind of. It was sort of just a goodbye image. Like,
it was.
This is what you picture when you see Matt Smith. You picture him holding Amy's face, and then goodbye.
Did it feel wrong to you that he ended without her there, without her being his companion? I mean, they had gone that far. Do you think? I mean, it seems like half a season wasn't enough to get a hold of Clara, although she held her own in the episode and was great.
Mm-hmm. I really like Clara a lot, but I mean, to answer your question, I never really was I didn't think about that too much because when Tennant ended, it wasn't with Rose, and that was his first.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in the episode blasting some Daleks apart, but she wasn't there at the end. There was nobody at the end when he was in there.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Maybe it was just me and my emotional attachment.
You're just like, I wanted some Amy, I wanted some Rory, I wanted some of the old cast, but I mean, the old cast was gone, so to see them, I felt like it would have been a little inconsistent and random, even though Doctor Who's always been inconsistent and random. So
it has, just like this podcast will be. So I'm going to wrap up my point of the production with a little. I'm going to bore you for a moment here. It just seems like when Karen Gillan left early, it broke production. And they had to rewrite everything, which happens to a show all the time. People leave and stuff, but it just sucked. It was on their 50th anniversary, and they had these big plans. And I'm not going to put it at Karen Gillan's fault, as Stephen Moffat's fault. And again, this is all speculation, but this is what we do in podcasts. We have evidence that, I mean, I can't show it to you right now, that this is actually the case, because on the back of a couple of toys, and I'm going to run and grab one now as a prop. And I'll probably knock down a couple of Cybermen in the process. Try not to. Is this gun. This gun right here came to my shop about a year ago. Okay? There was a gun and a sonic screwdriver. The trans-temporal sonic screwdriver, which we will talk about next. On the back of the packaging for this gun, which, if I turn it on.
Canberra lock device powering up.
This gun has...
Matrix operating at optimal levels, 100%.
This has the technology of three beings. It
sounds really Cyberman.
It's a Dalek.
But it's got the Dalek eye, yeah.
It's a Dalek eye. It's got a Cyberman body. And it's got an angel finger, which I'm going to put to the cover right there. And on the back of it, it spoke of when the Doctor died at the end of season 6. It said, the universe believing, and I'm paraphrasing, the universe believing the Doctor is dead. The Cybermen and the Daleks went to war with each other and wiped out half of the universe. And then the angels went across the universe picking apart the dead parts that they could get. And the clerics were the ones who came down and kind of wrapped everything up, and they created this gun which wipes you out of existence. It does what an angel does. So it just opens up a time hole. It's like a crack in the universe gun. That's what it does. So, okay, now, also with the... we'll go into the screwdriver, the trans-central screwdriver. We never saw that was supposed to be Matt Smith's next screwdriver, or maybe the next Doctor's.
Right.
A, it had a wood setting, and B, on the back of that, it said that the TARDIS had been into a trans-temporal crisis and landed in London and could only go to 4 places. It could go to modern London, future London, Elizabethan London, and Victorian London, which were all places we went. So it was kind of a second Doctor scenario where the TARDIS is stuck and he could only go to these 4 places. And that's where he got this new screwdriver. So it sounds like they were going to go a whole different way. There's even a play set that they came out with that I don't have that shows a Dalek invasion of London in the future. And it's got the London Underground, which they kind of... I know I'm going all over the place, but you had to have watched every episode. If you watch The Snowmen, they refer to the London Underground and how the Great Intelligence, used that. That was his second Doctor adventure, if some old Whovians can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they were trying to tie that all into one. Now, I will stop here saying they do this a lot in Doctor Who, excuse my voice, assuming that the viewer is smart. Now, you are, I'm not. But, and that's what I love about English writing. And I want to get back to, I think Doctor Who getting so big was the reason everything stopped. It wasn't Kerry Gilliam, it wasn't Stephen Moffat. There was a rumor that the BBC was upset with Moffat for having all these, everything tie into one and not having one-off episodes, and they wanted more one-off episodes, and that's what we got. We got a lot less of the timey-wimey stuff. He threw some in at the end, and some people might have a different opinion of it, but it seems like it was Moffat light the last few episodes. All good episodes, but I love to rewatch Doctor Who, and again, these are quality episodes, but I find myself rewatching the last few the least, because they just didn't feel like they meant a lot to the overall story, and that's what Doctor Who is. Mm-hmm. It's you change the characters out, but there's still an overall story here. Now, good things. How they wrapped up the Time War.
Yeah.
And the crack in the universe thing. And I'll end my point there. It just seems like we got less than we deserved. And I think it was I think it had a lot to do with the popularity in America. And I am so afraid of that. I mean, not really afraid, but I mean...
them trying to appease too much to the across the Atlantic viewers and not really sticking to the formula that got them there in the first place.
Exactly. And Moffat has always promised that. And we American viewers, that's what we want. We don't want any... I say American perspective, but we don't want any American influence whatsoever.
No, don't try to appease us. We like it when you tease us.
No, we're unappeasable, for one. We're fanboys, and we are absolutely unappeasable. We're going to bitch about everything, so just live with it. And I love English everything, except for your food. It sucks. But, with that, I think that's what's happened. That happened with the action figures. I know you don't care. I do. They went from 5 inches to 3.5 inches. Well, why would they do that? They're cheaper to export. Mm-hmm. So we've already had a bad influence on that aspect. But let's stick with the show. Real quick. The Christmas episode on a whole by itself was, again, I found myself a little disappointed. But can I double talk that with, I really thought the performances were great, and I was moved, and sorry to say that. And the Amy thing at the end was my highlight when he saw Amy. That was my highlight. What was your highlight of the show?
My highlight... I'm trying to think of the whole episode all at once. No, it's alright. But I feel like it was... Weirdly enough, it was him sending Clara away, because he thought it'd be his hour, where it'd be well, it's kind of changing, he's going to kind of accept it, but then he still does what the Doctor's always done. He's lied, and then he sent them away for their own protection, and he did it twice, right then when he said he wouldn't. Yeah. Twice. So it was kind of It's that made me feel like they weren't really going to change too much on how everything went, as far as just the formula for the show, not the whole overall thing. And that felt good. It didn't feel un-Doctor Who. It felt like it was really sticking to what it was good with, and I liked that.
How did you feel about the and we'll talk about the 50th anniversary episode in a second, but how did you feel about the crack in the universe being Gallifrey?
It made more sense. It made more sense than it just randomly going to other universes. Because, they dipped in that whole other universe thing with Mickey and Ricky and doing the Tennant Rose, that stuff. And that was interesting, but if it led back there, or if it led... Because, universes are all wibbly-wobbly, spacey stuff, so it's hard to manage. But I think having it actually center around, this bigger thing is better. And it kind of opens up questions about what Peter Capaldi's role is going to be, because overall it felt like it was this Doctor who was ashamed of his past, and now it's going to be well, what's the Doctor's thing now? He always changes a little bit from person to person, like Tennant and Smith and the ninth. I forgot his name. Eccleston.
It's okay.
He only spent one season here, so hard to remember. But they were all different, but they all sort of had that one thing going for them. And now I feel like this change is going to be bigger than the other 3 Doctors together. I've never seen the old show, so I can't compare that one to this run. But this run from before, those 3 now going to Capaldi is going to feel like the biggest change among the Doctors. And it makes me curious, and I think centering it around Gallifrey is a good anchor for that. So I'm not... it's good. It makes me excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a new, I don't know, you want to call it a MacGuffin, but a plot point. Yeah, you're right. It's like a paradigm shift. It moves it to where it's, somebody looking for his lost home as opposed to, the weary, guilt-ridden, that can only go so far, for somebody who's read Batman for far too long, guilt-ridden, it needs to go somewhere else. And we could go into why Spider-Man's a better character because he actually deals with that and has other things to feel guilty about or other things to move on about. But I digress. I'm going to get punched for that. I like the good mix of humor in it. I kind of missed. I was kind of hoping, like, I don't want to be Mr. Disappointment. I'm going to be a little fanboy about this. I wanted, like, Madame Vastra and Jenny and the Strax to be in this in some way or shape or form, but they weren't. And I kind of wanted to see River Song one more time, even though I guess that was a goodbye to her.
They already kind of addressed that goodbye.
Yeah, again, that felt wrapped up too quick, though. There should have been something more, God, it would have been nice to wrap up River in, like, the 50th anniversary. And I know they can't put everything in. And, I'll gripe one more time. Why couldn't we have gotten 2-hour episodes on both of these? Like, and again, it's the BBC, I think, being cheap. I mean, they gave David, The End of Time, Tenant's End, was a 2-parter over now and New Year's Eve. And it just seems like they had to fight to get these 2 episodes. Why? You would have just made more money. Mm-hmm. And would have been able to stretch the plot. Now, let's step back and talk about, again, Christmas episode, great. The regeneration was, I thought it was really cool. He used it to, even his winding his arm.
It was a bit odd. It was a bit, well, I feel like that was very Matt Smith of him. There.
Yeah, he's definitely not a cool doctor.
About,
yeah.
It's his lack of coolness that I think makes him cool.
Yes.
Bow ties are cool and fezzes are cool.
And you know what? I don't think anybody's going to wear a bow tie anymore, right? Are they just done now? Are fezzes and bow ties just done?
The fezzes are probably going to be done. Those were very, apparent, but bow ties are more subtle. Maybe Peter will have a bow tie.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Capaldi at the end of the episode here, but and we'll wrap it up with Capaldi. But good regeneration at the end. It was funny. One of his first lines is, "I don't like the color of my kidneys," or "My kidneys, I don't like the color. I got new kidneys," whatever. But let's talk about the 50th real quick, which I thought was a really good episode. I loved it, and it was just seeing Tennant back, who's my doctor. Mm-hmm. Is Matt Smith yours? I mean, that's all you kind of watch, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of Tennant, even when it was because I was introduced to the series chronologically, so I saw Eccleston, then I saw Tennant, and when I saw Tennant and hadn't seen Matt Smith yet, and seen the whole run of Matt Smith, I liked Tennant more. Now, seeing Matt Smith, I feel like I liked him more, and how I felt going into Matt Smith, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like him, I like Tennant, and now it feels like it's going to be that again. Oh, I like Smith, I'm not going to like Capaldi, but I feel like we're going to like him. We'll need to give him some time, as we do with every regeneration. So
yeah, this one's really different.
Yeah. I can't project my future opinions right now. So I'm just going to wait and see.
Fanboys usually like to do that, though. They like to hate stuff based on a trailer or a frame of a film. The 50th anniversary, I thought, was really cool at a lot of levels, where it, they said that Eccleston would have been John Hurt's part, and that would have been beyond epic, but John Hurt was great.
He was good. He was really good. I'm not going to hate on his performance at all. No, it was a very good performance.
I completely accept him as a Doctor. What was really cool today was they put the 8th Doctor prequel on TV right before the episode. I don't know if they did that before the 50th anniversary because I was dealing with some crap at the store, but I hope they did, because that was so cool. Paul McGann, man, I would love for them to do a little web series of the Paul McGann. I don't know if you saw those or not, but it was just really good. And it sets the pace for the episode great. Tennant was brilliant in it. I loved what they did with Rose, making her the interface, and was she Bad Wolf or was she the interface? We don't know this. The plot, it was also very cool how they took a little adventure, a little Zygon adventure, and wrapped it around a bigger plot. Mm-hmm. So they didn't make it this big thing. They made it an aside, this happened, this happened to the Doctor on the way to defeating the Zygons. And it's cool that the Zygons might be an ally now, if you look at it. And one of the best moments was right at the end with Gallifrey stands when all the doctors came, and then they said the 13th. And
I feel like the ending for that episode was more wow than the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was like a real like this is what we do, and this is how we're gonna like make you all love our show so much at the end of every single episode.
And they did it right.
They did it absolutely right.
Hairs on my arms standing up, and like if you're into the show, it might sound silly if you're not, but you know, people feel that way about football, you know, so which we love, by the way. But just great episode. So the future of Doctor Who. Let's talk about the future. I think looks good. The only concern I would have is the American audience, and not with the show itself. I have full confidence that Stephen Moffat can do some great stories with Peter Capaldi. We're going to get like a brand new show now. There's no dangling questions out, so we got a kind of a fresh slate. And it's kind of cool. I'm glad they didn't do like a full-on reset, that Clara is here and she's part of it, so you're not, you know, feeling like you're watching a totally new show. You're still watching the same show. He is a lot older than Matt Smith, and I don't know how that's going to play. I hope it doesn't matter. I hope it doesn't matter. But I would be lying if I didn't say, you know, if he was 10 years younger. I mean, 60's old. I mean, sorry. It's, you can't see a 6-year-old running. You know, this new Doctor Who is based on a lot of running.
Yeah.
And Capaldi looks like he's in great shape, and he probably could do some running. But, and this is the Doctor Who we're not used to, so maybe they did this on purpose. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I did, like I said earlier, the whole show is going to be shifting around this new point. So, yeah, there's a lot of running, but maybe he'll deal with things differently than Tennant and Smith. Their first plan was always, talk a lot and then run away. And then something will come in and it'll work.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. He said that explicitly in the episode, right?
And then take the
talk really fast, take the credit.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
You know, because I mean, it seems like he's pulling most of the stuff out of his own ass half the time. Anyway,
It is.
But it's so great watching it because it's like, you know, he's so confident in something where he does not even know what his own plan is until it's happening.
And he knows he'll complete it. And that's what I personally love about this show. And the cool thing is, with this show, for me, is something I can watch with both my sons. And we can get into. And it's a hero arc. Not that I'm worried about these, you know, these are smart kids. And I just assume my kids are smart. So I'm not worried about them being influenced by video games and TV because kids are really freaking smart. And parents should give them a lot more credit than they do. But I like a new character type that's catching on here in America, which isn't always the anti-hero. And I know I've said this a million times in the store, but I have it on this podcast. And it's a hero who doesn't pick up a gun or doesn't have to beat the crap out of somebody. He just wants to outthink somebody and still be just as much of a hero. A hero who does run away, you know, but still wins. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. There's nothing wrong with surviving, you know. So you know, the science, even though it's the most sciencey show, it likes to base itself on that. It's a thinking show, and again, it's how. In the UK, they come at you with, well, we assume you're smart, you know?
Yeah.
We don't assume you're stupid. And that's cool. That's cool. It's the
But
reason
a lot of Americans are stupid, so.
We are drooling. So, Matt Smith's legacy. Rate him as a doctor. I mean, it's hard for us to do that, but, I mean...
If he were on a 5-point system, he'd be on a 5. If rated among all the doctors that I've seen being, you know, the 3 newest, well, now 4, he would... I don't know, I like Tennant so much, and I like Smith, but they feel like they're just completely different in the way you like them. Like, Tennant's like this, you know, he feels like he embodies more of the stony, dark, ashamed of his past, and he shows that more. Smith tries to deal with it by being, like, playful and childish and kind of going away from that idea and that, like, his responsibilities, even though he's still very responsible and still does help people throughout, you know, his run. But it's just, like, the way you like them, it's more like... You kind of look up to Tennant as more of a father figure or more of as just like a mentor figure. And then you look at Smith as like, oh, he's your best friend. And he's running around and he's a kid and he doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, there go the props.
There go the props.
That's okay.
Yeah, he feels more like he's going through this. And I feel like he's easier to anchor with because he doesn't know what he's doing. And you don't know what's going to happen. You both don't know what's going to happen. So it's going to be a surprise for both of you. And that's kind of what I liked about him. But if I had to actually rate them, I guess I'd have to put Smith ahead of Tennant just a little bit. Just a little bit.
And that's okay. What doctors I have seen, I have not seen a lot of the first or the sixth for some reason. But I've seen a bunch of everybody else. And I think Smith is a lot like the second Doctor, like a lot of people have said. He rates up there with me. I mean, they're all differently cool. I mean, I even, for what little I've watched of the Sixth Doctor, I think he's got the best arc, which was the Trial of the Time Lords. I thought that was badass, which I hope they revisit sometime in the future. And who knows? We might be getting a Volyard right now. We never know. Number one is Tenet with me, and then number four, can we just talk about the ending scene of the 50th anniversary, the very end? We get the Fourth Doctor meeting, Matt Smith, and he's the curator. And he revisits, and just that whole idea was so fucking cool. And it was about time Moffat did something like that, because that was a very Russell T Davies thing to do. Russell T Davies, his era, I'll go into. He gave the fans what they want. He brought out the epic. He was really good. He wasn't good with the timey-wimey stuff, and his episodes were really kind of somewhat cheesy, but they were more fun. The Smith episodes are more sophisticated. Another word I don't like to use, sorry. And better written. But I think Moffat has a hard time. Moffat likes to do, what's the word I'm looking for? His bad guys aren't like Cybermen. His bad guys are like the Shadow. He likes to do bad guys in the abstract. Mm-hmm. It's a shadow, or it's a cloud, or it's a statue, or it's you, or it's never just a bad guy. And he does have a lot of trouble. He did, I'm totally going off, but the one thing he did make creepy about the Daleks was the human Daleks with the things popping out. Mm-hmm. I thought that was cool, and I hope they keep with that. That is, because that's kind of creepy, because then you never know. And you did find one who could fight it, which was the papal mainframe in the Christmas episode, and Before My Voice Dies. So, Matt Smith, a great Doctor. I'm not going to rate him because he was just great in his own way. I mean, but yeah, Tennant's going to be always my favorite because he's just cool.
Tennant, I no hate on Tennant at all. I like him a lot.
But I think Matt Smith will actually grow on people as time goes on, and he'll be appreciated more. And his performances were unbelievable.
He was really just a really good actor.
He's a good actor.
He was just as good of an actor as Tennant was, and he had as many memorable things and all that.
I wish him all the luck in Hollywood. Just don't become Hollywood, please. It's a shitty town. Sorry, Hollywood. I got some friends in Burbank. They're not in Hollywood. They're good friends. But real quick, let's talk about Capaldi before we go. We've already said a lot, but I mean, just his little snippet. And I haven't seen any news or anything, so maybe they showed what his costume looks like. I'm excited. I wasn't when I first heard. I'm like, he's too damn old. He's got funny teeth. He's got a funny chin.
But he's English.
Yeah, but he's English.
They have funny teeth and funny chins.
Yeah, they do. And so do we. And we eat lots of cheeseburgers and shit. So,
diabetes.
I cuss in front of my son. Well, my son doesn't. Yeah, you do. You cuss a lot, actually.
Yeah, I'm 17. I can deal with it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Capaldi. Anything else you haven't said?
I mean, you said you weren't excited, but now you are. I feel like I'm not quite convinced yet because the line where like my kidneys, I'm like, your kidneys? That's what you want to say is your first thing? It's like, I liked Matt Smith's first thing. The thing you first think of is fish fingers and custard. That's kind of funny. But then kidneys is like kidneys. And you don't think about your kidneys very often unless you have kidney stones, which is not fun.
No,
I would imagine.
I've had them. And Tennant's first line was, didn't miss a beat. Barcelona. I mean, just. So I'm looking forward to the future. I don't want to be too negative. I just wish, instead of saying, I think it's a mistake, I'm going to say, I wish, as a fan, because I just want more stuff, that they would have not had this huge break and started the show in fall, especially after the 50th anniversary. We're technically in the 50th year. So, and it seems like we've taken a pretty big break. I mean, I know to the BBC it might seem a lot, but we've gotten 2 shows in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to wait 8 more months. I mean, this is like a Game of Thrones wait, And this is how I got, Game of Thrones is how I got into Doctor Who in a weird way. I got tired of waiting for Doctor Who, and I guess I wanted something English. I've been trying this show forever. People in the shop, I remember Russell and Sean, all, trying to get me into it. and it just wasn't the time. And I guess I just couldn't get into it. I tried, and then Harry finally we sat down and watched that Christmas episode, the Widow in the Wardrobe, and not even the best Christmas episode. And all of a sudden, I just fell in love, and the fact that it was on Netflix and I could watch it all for free in order.
Yeah.
So I think this break, you just got all these new people, and I guess they can go back and watch all the old ones, but I think they already have. I think this has happened. I got my 1 through 7 season Blu-ray with the sonic screwdriver. It's badass. Everything's on Blu-ray, so I can rewatch it Blu-ray. But I mean, by the time that happens, it's going to be gone now. I guess there'll be some pump up at Comic-Con.
Probably.
But that's a long time. So I hope it sticks with everybody. We're going to do this podcast. You can host when you want. We'll have other co-hosts too, or just might be by myself once a month at the end of every month. And hopefully I'll have a better voice. Mine is dying now. So any last words, Indigo?
I did say, I don't know how I feel about him yet, but I hope he's going to be good because I do like the show and I do want it to be good. But I also, I want to make sure that they, like you said, I don't want them to appease to me because I'm actually, when I say me, I mean we as Americans, and I don't think I'd feel the same about this show as many other Americans might. I don't know, but I hope it stays good. I mean, as much as people might be bashing Capaldi now, just as they did Smith after Tennant went away, and they're like, oh, we love Tennant, we don't want Smith. Oh, we love Smith, we don't want Capaldi. I hope he's good, and I hope he changes our mind, because that's what they've done, and I hope it continues to happen.
And they are professionals. They know how to write. And they
know
how to
write. An excellent writer.
Don't write what you think we'll like. Write what you like. Write what's good. And we will like it, those of us with taste.
Mm-hmm.
So, from San Francisco, in the basement of a house on Curtis Street that is no longer pink, it's Tiffany blue, in an office that will no longer be mine soon, I bid you a good evening, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And
or whatever you celebrate.
Yes, or Merry Galactusmas. And good night, and see you next month.